What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smokin' Android. I am your host, Jared. And today we're going to be taking a look, or rather a review, of the new HTC One V from the One series of devices from HTC. So let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so as usual, we're going to go ahead and start from the out and work our way in being the software, of course. So first thing you'll notice is the display isn't exactly the biggest out there. You know, keeping in mind this is sort of a mid-range class device. You know, this isn't, you can't compare this to you know, the new Samsung Galaxy S3 or even its big brothers, the One X or the One S. But nevertheless, it's still a decent sized screen for those of you that aren't, you know, super crazy about watching videos and media and playing games and all that stuff. It has a 3.7-inch WVGA Super LCD screen with the resolution of 400 by 800 and a pixel density of 252. Now, to some of you, that may not mean a lot, but to the rest of us, that means that the display isn't half bad considering what the phone is. And of course, due to the small size of the display, or smaller, I should say, size of the display, you know, compared to other devices out there, it is still a small phone. Nice slim sort of phone factor there. The dimensions on this device are 4.7 inches by 2.3 inches by 0.36 inches. So, you know, a pretty thin phone for all intents and purposes. It also weighs 115 grams. So enough to let you know there's a phone there, but not enough to weigh your pocket down. Now, looking on the back of the device, you'll notice it has a 5-megapixel rear-facing camera with a LED flash. This is capable of doing 720p HD video recording at 30 frames per second, so that's really nice to see on sort of a mid-range device. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with a front-facing camera. As you can see, there's sort of no cutout there for you. But, you know, again, for those of you that, you know, aren't doing a whole lot of video chatting and stuff like that, that probably shouldn't be an issue. At the top of the device, we have our 3.5mm headphones jack, our LED indicator, which is a huge deal to a lot of people, but it's also a different spot, whereas if you were to look on the HTC One X or One S, the LED indicator is actually located quite smartly inside of the sort of headset speaker there. So a bit of a different, but you know, I kind of like this this placement of the LED personally, because if it's in your cup holder or something like that in your car or whatever, you'll be able to see it at the top of the device. You know, as well as at night, it does make a nice big glow, so if you happen to glance over at your nightstand or something like that, you can see that you do have a message. And of course, over here we have our power button / lock screen button. You'll see that it's sort of, it's sort of, I mean, it's kind of built into the device, if that makes any sense to you guys. You know, if you run your finger along it, you can notice it's there, but it almost feels like Braille. It's not raised up as much as I would prefer, but nevertheless, that's just part of the design. On the right side of the device, we have the volume rocker, like the rest of the One series devices, and of course, just like the top power button, this one sort of is sort of into the device a little more than I would like. My words are failing me at the moment, but as you can see, it's not raised up all that much, but still, it's still nice to touch, and it feels nice to the touch. On the left side of the device, we have nothing except for the micro USB slot for charging and or data transferring. On the bottom of the device, we have the microphone port. And going back to the back of the device, as you can see, we have the HTC logo impressed on the sort of back covering here, as well as our Beats Audio logo and the small little speaker with their, I don't know if they're laser or machine drilled speakers that everybody's kind of flipping over, but there's that. Now, if you look, we also have the backing here, which comes off. It can be a bit of a pain sometimes, but this actually kind of tells me that the build quality is a little higher than most mid-range devices, because if I was to drop this, I have a feeling that this probably wouldn't just drop off like a lot of devices. So pulling that out reveals the where you put your SIM card, and as well as your micro SD card. Now, this device does come with 4 gigabytes of internal storage, which isn't a whole lot. Now, from what I understand, from what I've been able to read and find on the internet, this is capable of receiving up to a 32 gigabyte micro SD card. You know, so if 4 gigabytes isn't enough for you, maybe you want to listen to music, especially with the Beats audio, you're probably going to want to get a bigger SD card, but $20 later over at Best Buy and you're rocking out with a nice 16 gig card, which should be more than enough for most of you, because I know it is for me. Now the back little panel here itself is interesting. It's got some contact points. I don't quite understand, and I haven't been able to, mind you, I haven't kind of done some deep research on this, but I don't really understand what the contacts are for, if it's just to sort of let the device know that the backing is off, or if it's on, or what have you. Maybe it's for future docks, I'm not too sure. But you know, the back covering feels really solid. It's not very bendable. It looks like it's almost reinforced plastic, if you can see there. Sort of right, if the light will catch it properly, you can see in there that it's just a higher quality backing. Mind you, it is just a small piece, but it is nice to see that a backing like this has been built sort of with this reinforced plastic and so on, compared to, let's say, Samsung devices with its super you know, paper thin, flimsy backing to it. Now, while we're talking about some of the internals of the device actually does come with a 1500 milliamp non-removable battery, which seems to be the trend with HTC lately with some of their newer devices, like I said, the One X and the One S, as well as the HTC Evo 4G LTE, all seem to have non-removable batteries, which in the modding community can be a bit of a pain in the butt but to most of consumers out there, that shouldn't be an issue. Now, as far as the battery length life goes, the device has a fantastic standby. I think it's standby for anywhere between 3 to 3.5 days. You know, with minimal to average usage, I've actually been able to get about 2 solid days out of this with at least 20% still left in the battery. So with a 1 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, ice cream sandwich, Beats audio, you know, 1500 milliamp battery, you would think wouldn't last very long, but you'd be surprised, folks. You would really be surprised. Now, one thing that also probably helps the battery life is the fact that this is not a 4G device. This is not an LTE device. This is capable of doing, Edge, 3G, and HSPA plus bands. So, you know, at least with HSPA plus, you're still getting a pretty sufficient data speed, but without the LTE battery consumption. Now, over the past, I don't know, week or so that I've been using this device, you know, I've actually grown to like it for what it is. You know, I'm a big Superphone fan, so you'll see me rock my Motorola Atrix. You know, I've already pre-ordered the Samsung Galaxy S3. But, you know, for a phone this size, you know, there's ups and downs for me with the design. First of all, I don't like the unibody design, as well as the material that they use, which I believe is an aluminum material as opposed to the sort of polycarbonate ceramic material that they've been using with the One X and One S. The device itself, when if you happen, you know, you're not going to be holding your device with your fingernails, but every now and then your finger or a fingernail may happen to graze by parts of the actual body itself, and it's not a nice feeling. If you've ever gone up to a chalkboard before and it dragged your fingernails along it, it is not a good feeling, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's actually the feeling that I get when I touch this. Oh, I shiver, my back shivers. Now, some people that may not be an issue to, I just might be sort of a sensitive wuss in that respect, but the material that they're using doesn't feel, I just don't like the feeling of it, although because of the unibody design and the you know, sort of aluminum body to it, it doesn't have any creaks. I mean, the build quality of this phone is just fantastic. If you feel it, it just feels like a solid device. Now, with that said, even though it feels like a solid device, you'll notice that there's some edges along the device. As you can see there on the camera, right in the middle of the side here, it's actually got a sharp edge. And furthermore, the display itself is actually raised up a bit. Now, I'll see if I can catch this on camera here, but you'll notice, let's see if I can do this here properly. You'll notice there that the display is actually raised up a bit from the display, from the device itself. And as you can see, it's got some sharp corners, right? So as I'm kind of scrolling along, it doesn't feel good when I'm going like this or going like this, because it feels like my thumb's being caught by the display, which is kind of sharp. In addition to that sort of, you know, disadvantage in my opinion, or at least cosmetic disadvantage, the chin. Now, the chin first made its appearance in the HTC Hero and then the HTC Legend. I've never liked this. Now on the HTC Hero there is a navigation sort of trackball there, and it made sense to have the chin there. However, they've removed it, and all the buttons are right on the display itself, or on the screen itself, which kind of makes no sense for this. Now I understand that they've, you know, positioned the SIM card and the micro SD slot in there, but we all know with all the different devices out there, there's many other places they could have put it. They could have made this a removable battery, and it could have been anywhere on the backing here, but instead they decided to put it down there, which I thought was really strange, because I mean there's really no point in having a chin other than being able to press that tab down and kind of look at what's on your phone, I guess. But as far as the sort of the form factor goes, it feels very strange in my hand. As well as, you know, whenever I'm going to, you know, if I receive a text message or an email and I just kind of want to briefly check on screen, because one cool thing about, you know, the new HTC Sense 4.0 is that it brings up your notifications and stuff like that right on the lock screen. All you have to do is press and drag it down, but you will be getting into that into the sort of software review end of things. But, you know, like I was saying, you know, if I receive something and I go to press the power button, it doesn't, sometimes I don't even know if if I have my finger on the power button, if I'm just kind of reaching across the desk to hit the button. So I found that to be a bit strange for me. It just didn't seem, I don't know, that's a personal opinion thing, but so you'll have to make up your own mind on that one. Again, not really a big deal. If, you know, don't let the fact that I don't like where the power button is and how it is sort of deter you from purchasing this product, because this is basically, for its class, this is the best Android device on the market, the best one. Alright, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the insides of the device in terms of software, not the actual chips. Right then, so now we're looking at the software ends of things. Right away, as soon as you hit the screen unlock button there, you'll be presented with the new lock screen. I, for one, really like the new Sense lock screen. You know, it combines sort of fluidity with function. You know, there's a lot of other third-party applications out there, or if, you know, you're an Android custom modder, you know, you can find all kinds of lock screens that are Sense 4.0 clone lock screens. And it's really neat because you can take these icons here, which, you know, are changeable. You can actually customize which ones are here, and you can just go ahead and grab it and drag it into the little ring down there at the bottom. It'll immediately launch into that application. So as you can see there, I just launched the camera, which is really handy to have on your lock screen, or even the phone, which are two of the most used things. Not the most used things for me, but they're definitely, you know, when I go to unlock my phone, you know, instead of having to go through, well, okay, let's put it this way. The camera and the phone are two of the largest or widely used apps that I use on my phone, like on a regular basis. So whereas, you know, maybe checking email and stuff like that, if I'm out and I want to snap a picture, I don't want to have to go in here, and then, you know, if it's not in my dock bar because I have other icons in there that I would prefer to have, you know, I don't have to go looking through my app drawer, or, you know, start scrolling through my home screens to find the camera. You know, it's right there. So we're not going to talk about the lock screen anymore because I droned on about that for a little bit too long. So let's go ahead and take a look at Sense 4.0. Sense 4.0 on the HTC One V. Not a whole lot different from the One X and the One S, with the exception of some things like, for instance, you know, you can't, and these exceptions are kind of related to the camera and some capabilities that this device won't be able to do just because of hardware limitations, right? But again, you know, if you're spending, you know, under $350 or so for a mid-range device, you know, I wouldn't expect to get the same type of functionality out of a mid-range device of a you know, super phone like a One X, or, you know, so on and so forth. So right away, something I don't like is what you've probably been noticing is the auto brightness. It seems to dim a little bit quickly for me. You know, it's still nice transitions though when it's lowering the screen brightness, but it does seem a little bit bright for me. Another thing is a lot of the custom UIs out there from other OEMs, you know, they have in the notification bar here a lot of the toggles like data and Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and all that good stuff. So I was kind of missing that when I dropped down the notification menu here. You know, I was a bit disappointed to see a lack of, but of course there's always, you know, widgets and toggle widgets that you can throw on your desktop, so that's not really a big deal. And of course in the top right hand corner there you can jump into settings. Now the overall feeling of Sense with Ice Cream Sandwich on a 1 GHz processor with only 512 megabytes of RAM is, well, impressive because of the lack of internal specs. But, you know, if you're going to be comparing it to some of the big boys out there, this has a long way to go. Now, keep in mind that Android 4.0 does have hardware acceleration, so things should be smoother. And, you know, you can definitely see that it is smoother, especially when you're using the camera, things like that. But just general day-to-day use, you shouldn't notice too much. Now, someone like myself, where I'm always on my phone all day long, you know, I'm testing apps, I'm testing ROMs, I'm testing this, that, the other, you know, and I don't, you know, I don't like seeing stuttering and lag. If I do, generally what I do is I'll root the device and flash either a custom ROM or a custom kernel, overclock kernel, to fix that. But, you know, we're obviously not going to do that here, and we're looking for a stock experience. So, you know, my feeling towards the lag on this device is, you know, I was kind of expecting a 1 gigabyte of RAM, just to kind of help, you know, day-to-day usage, things like that. But, you know, as you get it going in the processor, if you will, it's sort of warmed up, the fluidity and all that good stuff kind of becomes apparent. And, you know, as you can see, sometimes the touch, you know, when I go to grab for the notification bar, it, you know, it doesn't come down. Just little simple things like that. And as you can see, this swiping from screen to screen, there's a little bit of stuttering, but really nothing to get upset about. Now we'll go ahead and take a look in the apps here. Now I don't believe there's a whole lot of sort of proprietary OEM apps on here. There is a couple of value-added apps from Bell Mobility, which is where this device is from. As you can see, this is Bell's first music store application, so you can actually purchase songs from them, directly from them, for between, I think, about 99 cents to $1.50. They also have their mobile TV app, which is always a bonus. So if, you know, you're out in the middle of nowhere, or you're on your way home from work, on the bus or on the train, you can, you know, you don't have to miss the news or any of your shows, stuff like that. You can get HBO and MTV and all that good stuff, as well as their proprietary GPS navigation, things like that. But other than that, I mean, you still have some basic stuff. You know, you've got your HTC hub there. It comes with a couple of games, which is nice, so you don't have to go and break the bank trying to get something. Again, remember, this device isn't really a media consumption device. It isn't a gaming device by any means, but you know, so that's why you won't see too many heavy applications loaded onto this phone. It comes with Dropbox, and what's nice about the HTC One series of devices is that if you do decide to purchase one, bam, I think it's 23 or 25 gigs of free storage on Dropbox, which is fantastic. That's just fantastic. Some other things, you know, what else do we have here? I think that's, you know, with the exception of a couple of small apps that we probably don't really care about, that's pretty much it. You can always go through the setup guide. It comes with Uno. Uno is always fun to play, of course, and all that good stuff. Alright, so now let's take a look at one of the big features of the One series of devices, which is still found on the HTC One V, believe it or not, which is the camera. Now, taking a look at the camera, we'll go ahead and switch it over to landscape mode there. It doesn't have the exact same functionalities as the HTC One X and One S, which is being able to take 5 megapixel pictures while recording 1080p video. This device instead is still capable of taking pictures while recording video, but it's 3 megapixel pictures while recording at 720p. So still, I mean, you know, unless you're looking to be a movie director, that really shouldn't make any difference to you. But as you can see right here on camera, it is, you know, it's displaying my logo behind it very, very well. Very good colors. In fact, I'm looking on the display on my camera versus the display on the screen, and it doesn't look as sharp. Now, it's still having trouble autofocusing. As you can see, it is an autofocus camera, and we can go ahead and I think we can take a picture of it, and you can see it. You might be able to hear it, might not. Let's see. Sort of a little sort of sound effect, just letting you know it is trying to zoom in on the image that you've got. So obviously that was a little bit too close, and there we go. It looks pretty good there. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the settings. The settings is where the real fun happens in the camera app. It's got all kinds of, you know, the usual stuff that a lot of cameras come with, but something that I've noticed that even still a lot of new ones don't come with is, if I can find it here. Okay, so apparently I was looking in the wrong area there. Like I was mentioning just a second ago there, a feature that a lot of even the newer cameras on the phones these days don't come with is HDR. Now, you can purchase third-party apps from the market, but from what I've seen, there isn't too many devices out there that have HDR as an actual setting, as a scene, built right into the proprietary camera application. And if you don't know what HDR is, it basically takes 3 different images at different exposures and sort of puts them together to make one really fantastic looking shot. Now, as you can see down here, and this is just whatever this A is, I haven't really even looked into that, but it's on it's camera scenes basically. So it's on auto. You can go to HDR. We've got panorama, everybody knows what that is, portrait, the group portrait, landscape, whiteboard, close-up, and low light. Now, something else really cool about this device, about this camera app, is that it actually has facial smile detection. So that means that if you want to take a picture when somebody's smiling, as opposed to taking a picture when like they've got their mouth closed or something like that, it will wait and take a picture for that. Also, it has a facial recognition tagging, from what I understand, if that's the only way I can describe it. Basically, if you've taken a photo of somebody, you can click on them and then tag them in the photo right away, which is really cool. So we'll go ahead and jump back into the settings there and just take a look at some of the stuff. So as you can see, we got the image resolutions. This is what it's capable of doing. And click that. The video quality, as like I said before, goes all the way up to 720p. You can adjust the ISO, the white balance. If you had a micro SD card in there, you'd be able to select where you store all of your photos. It has the continuous shooting. Now you can do continuous shooting on, you can limit to 20 frames, and you can do the auto review. And I'll show you what that is in just a second. So we've got that. We've got camera options here, which is, as I said, face detection, auto smile capture. You've got the widescreen and geotagging photos, all automatically done. And then we've got video options here. And whoops. Put that back on, and did it again, didn't I? Camera interface. So we've got the grid, which is basically all the lines that goes across the screen there, and auto upload, which is something that if you're on a limited data plan, I'd probably leave that off for now, just so you don't sort of accrue any additional data charges, which could be extremely expensive. Now we'll show you what the shutter is. Now, this was the big feature, this is all the big fuss is made about at the at Mobile World Congress 2012, and this is what it is. Now, keep in mind that HTC sort of marketed this feature as kind of like an HTC One series exclusive feature, when in reality, this is all devices that are at Android 4.0 or higher are capable of doing. Zero shutter lag. So watch this, okay? I'm just going to be holding the button down. As you can see in the bottom right hand corner there, it's taken a whole bunch of pictures, and I can't remember off the top of my head how many it's capable of taking until it stops. I think it was like 90 or something like that. Just something absolutely ridiculous. And then what it'll do then is kind of give you this little list there. Whoopsie daisy. Anyways, it'll give you this list there of all these different, the best pictures. So as you can see there, you've got your little preview down here. Now this feature is found on the One X and the One S, which is fantastic to see that it's come to the One V, because quite honestly, this is probably one of the phone's biggest features, is basically the camera and the camera software, the camera app. So that's really nice. Now if you click on this little sort of round bubble circle type button up at the top right hand corner there, and you click on that, basically what it is it brings up all of your different scenes or filters, if you will. So as you can see, you got no effect, a bunch of other different preloaded default filters and scene type things for you to choose from, so that's really cool. Basically, with this camera app, I see no need to download a third-party camera app. They're really, it's just not necessary. This does everything you need. It's got a fantastic 5 megapixel camera in it. It's able to take burst shots, like dozens and dozens of shots. It does the auto face recognition, it does the smile detection. I mean, you really can't ask for anything more out of a camera on a device, especially on a mid-range device. This has got to be the best camera sort of integration on a mid-range device I have ever seen in my life. So I'm really thrilled that HTC sort of put these features in their low-end phone of the One series. Now I just wanted to show you guys some of the pictures that I had taken. I had already recorded a video with the video sample and posted it on YouTube for everybody to see. So we'll go ahead and I'll show you guys some of the pictures I've taken here. That was a blurry one of my dogs, so we'll go ahead. I was taking the dog for a walk in the forest with my wife, and I'll zoom in for you guys here, and there we go. So I wish the screen was a little bit brighter. Actually, you know what? I'm going to turn the screen brightness up. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. Turn the brightness up as well as the sleep to 10 minutes. So anyways, as you can see, it actually did a pretty good job capturing photos. Now again, on camera, it's not going to do it justice, but I still was really impressed, especially with the zooming capabilities. You know, as you can see, the tree there, I'll double tap out and you'll see how quickly, you know, how far it zoomed in. You know, the little brown spot down there, zoom in on that. And now it's starting to get, you know, a little blurry to make out some of the definition, things like that. Zoom in a little bit more, and that's it. And we'll zoom back out again to show you how far away it was from the camera. Go to the next picture. You know, just, you know, it represented the greens pretty well and the browns there. This is just a little video I did of the sample recording. Now what's cool is that while you're in your video player, you can actually take pictures of a pre-recorded video. As you can see there, I've got the little camera button there, and I just took a picture. Image has been saved to the gallery, which is just fantastic. Now you can see that the playback is really great, and in fact it actually looked a lot better on the display on the camera than it, or on the phone than it did on sort of like on YouTube after I posted it. And as you can see, the exposure, the transition, the light exposure transition was really, really smooth and quick. And it just did a great job capturing all the colors. So, you know, and that's with a 5 megapixel camera capable of recording 720p. So, just really, really impressive. Right, so now one question I do get a lot about the HTC One V is, you know, how is the Beats audio? You know, is it, because it's a mid-range phone, you know, how is the Beats audio compared to that of, you know, the One X or the One S? And I can tell you that the software doesn't change for Beats Audio. You know, it's not going to be better on the One X or One V, One S and One X, just because, you know, they're sort of, you know, higher ranked phones, if you will. It sounds fantastic. Now, a lot of reviewers out there have mentioned that, you know, it's just basically for, you know, it helps increase bass for, you know, hip hop music, very, very bass integrated music. And I can tell you that's not true. You know, I played it with rock and roll music. You know, I don't like country, but that came up on one of the radio streaming apps that I use. Lots of different types of music. Sounds absolutely fantastic. And when you turn the Beats Audio off, because it is toggleable. You can turn it on and off if you like. It sounds a lot less quality. Now, what might be interesting to note would be, and I haven't looked into the equalizer settings or anything like that, or too deep into it, but you know, you almost think that you know, they made the equalizer settings really poor if you're not using Beats Audio, and then you turn on Beats Audio and it kind of puts everything back to normal again, which gives you the illusion that you're getting better quality sound. But whether that is the case or not, the Beats Audio does sound fantastic on this device, and I think it works personally. I don't think that it is just a gimmick. I think it does actually work fantastic. You know, I have it in the car. You know, actually for the past few days I've been using this device in the car with me, and it actually integrates with the Google Play Music Cloud flawlessly. And, you know, when I'm running that and I've got the Beats Audio turned on in the car, you know, I've played around with turning it on and off, and man, it makes a difference. I'm telling you guys, it really, really does make a difference. So, music audio with the Beats Audio, man, it is really a fantastic piece of software that they've included in the One series of devices. Alright, so what I've gone ahead and done is turned off the Wi-Fi, and we're now connected to Bell's HSPA Plus network. We're going to go ahead and do a quick speed test, because, you know, the radios do differ depending on the device, you know, whereas my Motorola Atrix actually isn't getting the same speeds, the same HSPA speeds as the One V, if that's any indication as to, you know, what getting a newer device will do for you. So we'll go ahead and launch the speed test app, and we'll wait for that to load up here. We'll go ahead and begin test. So we're at, we shot up to 1 megabyte per second there with 122 millisecond ping time. Now you're looking at this right now, I believe it's, as you can see at the top there, it's connecting to Bellingham, Washington. For some reason, I'm assuming it's because of where I'm located in Canada, which is on Vancouver Island, which is also just across the water. I think it's about a 45-minute ferry ride to Port Angeles, I believe it was. My geography is sort of poor. But, you know, as you can see, so our first test was that. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to change up the server to somewhere here in Canada. So we'll go ahead with Delta BC, as that's just across the water from me. And so we'll change server, and I prefer seeing things in megabits per second personally. We'll go back to that, we'll restart the test. So a 285 millisecond ping time, and we're getting at about average 1.7 megabits down per second. I have gotten some higher speeds than that, anywhere between 2 to 3 megabits down, and I think the highest up speed I received was in and around 1 megabit up. So, you know, some poor speeds at the moment, but again, that is HSPA plus, and yeah, that's basically it for the speed test there. Alright, so what I'd like to do now is start doing some things like, you know, browsing and messing around with the settings, just to kind of show you guys the kind of experience that you can expect from this device. So we'll go ahead and launch the stock browser, which also has, you know, HTC's proprietary Sense flavor to it. A lot of people were complaining about this browser just because they got rid of the, you know, the little tabs button that was in the top right hand corner, which can be found in you know, stock Android. And in order to get there, all you're going to be doing is clicking on the menu button, and you've got another menu here where you can select those tabs. So if I was to click that, then as you can see, we can go ahead and select what we want, and as you can see, it's pretty responsive, pretty quick. But of course there's no content displayed on either of those. So we'll go ahead and let's head on over to the Smokin' Android. Alright, so that took a little while there, as you can see, for it to load up a Google search result. As you can see, I'm there on YouTube. I'm all over the place, guys. It's the Smokin' Android. I'm everywhere. I'm like Android God. I'm in your hearts. I'm in your hearts. No, I'm getting out of control. We'll go ahead and just click on the YouTube channel. Actually, no, we won't. We're gonna go ahead and click on the website. And it's still loading. Now it's still loading, and I have a lot of videos on my site, but as you can see, it's loaded it. Oh, I think it's done loading now. Yep. And you can pinch to zoom. It's really nice. Double tapping brings you up the overview, and of course we can scroll in on that, and it's pretty smooth. So there's a bit of an idea of what you can expect with the browser. Alright, so basically call quality on the device has been, you know, pretty satisfactory. You know, there are some of the more expensive, higher quality phones out there, you know, generally do tend to have some higher call quality, but in its class, this is definitely nothing to, you know, turn your head from. I was actually just at a conversation not too long ago, actually for a good 20 minutes or so, and I believe I was actually on conference, which means usually, you know, the other person that you're listening to on the other end there, if they're on the conference call, you know, it's going to be kind of tough to hear them. And I don't know what it was, but this actually brought in the call really clearly, and I was actually able to hear everything they were saying. And they were obviously able to hear everything I was saying. So call quality, I'm going to say satisfactory, not great, not bad, but you know, definitely acceptable. So basically my final conclusion of this particular device, the Bell HTC One V, this is definitely a device for, you know, average users. If you're not huge or heavy into watching movies or, you know, games and stuff like that, basically this isn't a media consumption device, but this is by no means, you know, like I said before, a device to turn your head at. You know, out of all mid-range devices on the market right now, this is the best one. I would highly recommend this to anybody looking for a device, you know, under $600. You know, it's free on a 3-year contract with Bell Mobility, and just a fantastic phone. You know, it's got a great, acceptable display. It has the famous HTC build quality, so when I say that, I mean there is absolutely no creaks or groans with this device. It feels sturdy. I can't remember if it uses Gorilla Glass or Gorilla Glass 2, but it's definitely a tough display. That with a couple of downfalls, such as, you know, the form factor, things like that, overall this is just a fantastic phone for anybody to purchase. You know, with the camera and all that great stuff, it's just a great device to have around. I definitely, actually highly recommend this to anybody looking for a new smartphone smartphone, period, to replace their old, crappy iPhone or your old BlackBerry, things like that. It's definitely a great device. And the one major aspect for me about this device is that it rolls with Android 4.0, the latest version of Android. And you will not find that on any mid-range devices on the market now, or I'm going to take an educated guess, and in the near future. You can find other devices out there like the Samsung Galaxy Ace, which is a mid-level, Android smartphone with some pretty good, specs on it. But it only comes with Android Gingerbread, which most mid-range devices do, and who knows when mid-range devices will start to be upgraded, if they ever will. So with Sense 4.0, Android 4.0, and all the great stuff that they've included in this device, even though it's got a lack of RAM, in my opinion, just throwing in that extra 512 megabytes of RAM to bring it up to 1 gig would have made a huge difference in a user experience. This is still a fantastic device for everybody, especially because they're throwing in things like the Dropbox 23 gigs or whatever for free. I mean, you can't go wrong there, especially with the price of the device. And I think to purchase it outright, it's in and around $350, give or take. So definitely something to go check out, something to think about if you're in the market for a new smartphone but don't want to, get the latest and greatest, the most powerful quad-core CPU, something that can basically fuel a rocket ship. But that's basically it, guys. I think we'll end our video review here. And this has been the HTC One V. There is no B. This is the HTC One V from Bell Mobility. Yeah, just fantastic phone, really. And that's basically it, guys. Thank you very much for watching and tuning in. As always, if you liked this video and you found it all helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up down below. Also, be sure to share this video with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And in fact, if you want to communicate with me, go ahead and follow me on Google+ and add me to your circles. We can have a little chatty chat. But that's basically it, guys. Again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, the Smokin' Android signing out. Cheers.